Technology gods are smiling on us again. Okay. One more thing I need to do. Okay. All right. So welcome again. Lovely to have everyone with us as we go through this series of talks and meditations on encountering God. Our first session really dove into the idea of mantra and chanting. Yesterday we looked at some sacred texts, some readings, especially from poet saints who write of that direct experience and are communicating that living presence that is always available to us. So taking that in and allowing that to really color the way we see the world is important for a spiritual journey that wants to have that encounter with God, that direct experience, that unitive experience. So really coming back to that over and over again, both in your meditation practice and also throughout the day. So as we go through the day, we go through different experiences and we become different things, right? We become angry one minute, we become worried the next, and we're always becoming and becoming because the mind is changing, moving, feeling like it is struggling. So doing the practices that help us to ground and center ourselves in a particular kind of strength and solidity that is rooted in our true nature. That is what brings us an abiding sense of peace that can't be shaken, because it can't be changed, it can't be taken away, and it won't disappear, and it is who we are. So having the sense of being rooted in that provides constant stability. And the mind, when it is immersed in that, does not have the power over our actions and our emotions in the way that it does when we are not immersed in practice. So today we are talking about the breath. And the kind of inspiration of the title for today, which is Inhaling God, comes from that St. Thomas Aquinas poem I read yesterday, where he says, the earth inhales God, why should we not do the same? Right, so seeing everything as God and taking that into ourselves. And we can also take away from that the idea of the inhalation and the exhalation. Our breath is a huge determining factor in both our mental and physical state. So even as we think about spiritual practices and our relationship with God, we need to take a short dive here into some science to help the mind kind of understand why the breath is important. And that can help us to really engage the practice in a different way when we understand what's behind a practice. So we have different parts of our brain. One part of our brain is called the amygdala, which is the first part of our brain to develop. It's responsible for survival. So it is really triggered by any events or emotions that are connected or that it will connect to looking out for survival. And it's particularly triggered by the emotions of fear and anger. When the amygdala gets triggered, it sends out all kinds of signals to the body. And one of those signals is, for example, stress hormones. One of the stress hormones is cortisol, right? And studies have shown how having a bunch of cortisol in your system all the time wears your body down. We can go through our lives if our amygdala is triggered often and remains triggered, go through our lives with a minor sense of constant stress, which always wears us down, right? So there's a stress on the body. And then a second part of that is a stress on the mind and an effect on the mind. So for example, you may have experienced this either for yourself or someone else where you get so angry that you can't think anymore, or you get so angry that you say some things that just kind of come out of your mouth and you may not mean them, but they just kind of, you just do it, right? Or that you felt so fearful that you made a decision that you really questioned later that wasn't a good decision, right? So this is because what happens is it's been termed in terms of research as the amygdala hijack. So when the amygdala gets stimulated, it takes over the mind and particularly takes over what's called the prefrontal cortex, so the part in the front of the brain here that's responsible for rational, thoughtful thinking, right? So the kind of thinking that can step back, look at all parts of a situation, and then decide how to respond or what the solution needs to be. When the amygdala is triggered, that shuts down, and we're just left with a reaction, right? Kind of knee-jerk reaction that's looking to preserve something or preserve our feelings. So the brain has a huge impact on how we act, right? So being able to regulate that is really crucial to being able to bring our mind in alignment with our own spiritual values as humans, right? So that we are responding thoughtfully instead of reacting. And one way to do that is through the breath. So in studies, they've also looked at different patterns of breath and breathing and how they affect the body. And if you look up, for example, paced breathing or regulated breathing online, you'll find a lot of different patterns of breath that one can do that really calm and start to regulate the internal system of the stress reaction. Right? So the breath has this impact on the nervous system, and then the reaction of the amygdala starts to decrease. So as we do the paced breathing more and more, the body starts to learn that there's an alternative way to deal with stress. Otherwise, we get ingrained into certain patterns of reaction that just continue as we go throughout our lives. If we don't deal with it or challenge it in some way, we simply respond or rather react with whatever we have habitually been accustomed to. And I say this, for example, to my students who sometimes come to me for stress reduction. And they'll tell me about the fact that they have panic attacks, right? Which is a really debilitating issue that some people have in response to stress. And the more that panic attacks happen, right, or the more we respond with this anxiety, the more ingrained the pattern becomes. So what we need to do is challenge that reaction and then offer an alternative way to deal with the stress. And paced breathing changes the way the nervous system is acting and calms the mind and the body down, right? And so when we're calmer, we're going to be able to deal with life in a much more effective way, right? We're going to feel more confident. We're going to be able to take in information with more skill. We're going to be able to recall the resources that we have and also the ones that we can use in order to do whatever it is that we need to do in whatever situation we're in. So having that mindfulness depends on our ability to help the mind and help the body stay in the space of calm, abiding awareness. So to do this, we do a particular breath. One that I recommend is it's approximately a 10 count breath. You breathe in for a count of 5, and then you exhale for a count of 5. So you're taking in the breath slowly and deeply and diaphragmatically. And by diaphragmatically, I mean in the lower belly. Right? So when the breath comes in and it goes into the lower belly, that's how we know that the diaphragm is at work and it's taking in the most oxygen that it can and is able to distribute it to the body. Our brain actually uses an incredible amount of oxygen, which is why when the oxygen, for example, if you're in some kind of terrible situation and the oxygen goes low, often people will just pass out. And the reason for that is because the body is taking the brain offline because it uses so much oxygen. So once the brain is offline, the body can just take in the oxygen that's left and not use it up so quickly. So slowing, deepening the breath, and making sure it's diaphragmatic. So in a couple minutes, we'll do some paced breathing. So you can find a comfortable place for yourself, whether that's sitting, lying down, whatever it is that you wish. And just start to relax your body, right? Settle into your seat or where you're lying down and start to relax the muscles. We also tend to build up tension in certain parts of our body. So check in that your legs are relaxed, your hips are relaxed. Relax the back. Let go of any tension in the neck and shoulders. Take a couple of deep breaths, breathing in, and then as you breathe out, letting go of everything, letting go of whatever has happened today. Just coming into the present moment and noticing your breath. So in a moment, I'm going to play an app. So you'll hear two intonations. The first higher intonation is the in-breath. The second and the lower intonation is the exhalation. So you'll be breathing in for a slow count of 5 and breathing out for a slow count of 5. as you exhale, you can just imagine your body as a balloon that is letting go. So you don't need to make effort here. You're simply inviting the body to relax into a pattern of breathing that it already knows, right? That it's already familiar with, but that it has forgotten. So just relax into the sound as you hear the act begin. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And continuing that pace on your own. Allowing that breath to be slow and deep without being forced. So find a rhythm that is relaxing for you, where you can breathe into the lower belly and just allow the exhalation to happen, allowing all the muscle tension and holding to release as you exhale, waiting for all the air to be out of the body before you take more air in. Breathing in, breathing out. Retaining that sense of soft awareness on your breath as you allow the body to relax. Relaxing into the breath, like you might relax into a wave that's gentle and calm. Making this an offering to yourself, offering to your mind and your body. Continuing to let go and let go. Just enjoying the sensation of letting go. As you breathe, you can rest in a sense of spacious awareness. If anything comes up in the mind, simply come back to focusing on the breath. Imagine that you're watching the things of the mind from far away. As you simply take refuge in the rhythm of the breath. As you take refuge in the present moment. Now slowly bring your awareness back to your space. And start to relax the breath, breathing naturally. Just enjoying your sense of relaxation. So just checking in with yourself, seeing how you feel, noticing how you feel now as opposed to when we first began. If you're nice and relaxed, you may want to stay where you are. In a few minutes, we'll do another round of paced breathing. But I wanted to talk a bit about going back to our first conversation, the first day of mantra. Mantra is another way to remind the mind, right, both of its inherent divine nature, right, and keep the mind in that space of transcendent awareness. It can also serve as a vehicle for reminding the mind to do that count of breathing, right? So one interesting thing that they've seen when they have looked at mantra and prayer and how that affects the mind, they've seen that mantra and prayer, especially when it's a repetitious cycle of prayer or mantra, that it calms the mind because it also affects the breath. For example, if any of you are familiar with the tradition of rosary beads from Catholicism, that's one way of engaging a repetition of certain prayers, right? It also at the same time regulates the breath, so that it contributes to the shift in state that someone might feel when they are praying the rosary, right? Because they're both immersing the mind in the divine, and they're also changing the breath as they say this over and over, right? These prayers over and over. There's a very similar practice in the East that's called japa, where we use a mantra to say over and over during the day. Some people might vow to say a mantra 10,000 times a day and they count it out. Others might wear a bracelet or a necklace that has a certain number of beads, and they say the mantra for each count of the beads. I also had a Muslim student in my class last year that introduced me to the Islamic version of that. They also have it's a necklace that he showed me where they count out the stones, right, for prayers. So this is a universal practice that has a lot of both spiritual benefits and health benefits because it's operating on so many different levels. In particular, mantras that are 6 syllables help to calm and steady the breath, right? So you don't even have to be saying this out loud. You can just be saying it silently to yourself as you breathe in and as you breathe out. So I'll be giving you a few different mantras you can try for this. Right? One is Hail Mary, full of grace. Very well-known Christian phrase word that has been used to evoke the maternal, nurturing aspect of the divine. Hail Mary, full of grace. Another one is Om Namah Shivaya, which we looked at on Friday. Right? Om Namah Shivaya, I bow to the auspicious one within, evoking the name of the Hindu god Shiva as a way of evoking our own divine nature, our Shiva nature. A third one is the Buddhist mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. I hail the jewel in the lotus. So for this second round of paced breathing, you can choose one of these mantras, or if you have your own, you can certainly use it. And on the breath in, you say the mantra silently to yourself and breathe in as you say the mantra. For example, breathing in, Hail Mary, full of grace. Breathing out, Hail Mary, full of grace. Breathing in, Hail Mary, full of grace. Breathing out, Hail Mary, full of grace. Same thing if you choose Om Namah Shivaya, right? Breathing in Om Namah Shivaya, breathing out Om Namah Shivaya. Same for Om Mani Padme Hum, breathing in Om Mani Padme Hum, breathing out Om Mani Padme Hum. And I will put these in the chat in case anyone needs a reference. And use that, and that has the additional benefit of just wrapping your mind in the space of the divine. So we'll start again. So finding your comfortable space, relaxing, closing your eyes, choosing what you will do for this session, right? Which mantra would you like to use as your reminder and pace for the breath? And I'll also still play the tone so that you can hear it as a cue for the mind to continue that paced breathing as you say that mantra silently to yourself with the in-breath and with the out-breath. Relaxing the body, taking a couple of deep breaths, and then starting to do your paced breathing with the mantra. Breathing in, breathing out. Allowing yourself to become completely immersed in the mantra. Allowing the mind to let go. Letting go into the mantra. Allowing the mantra to guide the rhythm of the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Taking offering the mind up. There is nothing to do, no effort to make. This is simply time for letting go. Allowing the mind to get carried away by mantra. As the breath relaxes the mind, relaxes the body. Remembering that you have a mind, but you're not your mind. You have a body, but you're not your body. Let go into spacious awareness. Letting go into your true nature. So slowly returning your mind to the space that you are presently in. It's helpful to give yourself space when you are doing practices like this. When you have space that allows the mind to completely relax. If you have to jump up the second you're finished, you won't get as much relaxation. So allowing a buffer really helps the mind to let go completely. So it's better to have a practice where it might be a little bit shorter, but you have enough time to fully come out of your practice and let the mind re-engage on its own time. So these practices of paced breathing are beneficial, and also they work better the more we do them. So the more often we do paced breathing, the more it becomes ingrained in the mind and body that this works. So for example, you may start to relax more quickly if this is something that is something that you do on a regular basis. For making a strong change to a stress response, it's recommended to do this practice at least 3 times a week for 20 minutes a day. If that's simply impossible for you or you can't do it, there are other ways to bring this into our day. For example, you can do it while you're driving. You can do this practice of paced breathing before you go to sleep. So instead of letting your mind wander before sleep, if that is an issue for you, or if you just want to get in your paced breathing practice during the day, do this when you go to bed and fall asleep in that space of relaxation. You can also have markers during the day when you are going to engage the breath in this way. For example, you might take a couple of deep breaths every time you go through a doorway, or every time you go into your car. So building up these habits throughout the day can also help you just to remind you, right, to take a deep breath or two. Even just pausing for a few seconds in the midst of a busy or hectic day really has an effect on the mind and body, right? So to get a full pattern of the paced breathing built into your system, that's the 3 times a week, 20 minutes at a time. And in addition, or if that 20 minutes is just not possible for you, then bringing it in when you can, right? Taking diaphragmatic breaths, slowing the breath down. All of that is contributing to a healthier, calmer mind and body. So there are all kinds of health benefits to this, right? As you can imagine, for blood pressure and other issues that are stress related for the body. And the benefits go far beyond that, right? So it's part of this this concept of encountering God, where we are bringing our mind and body in alignment with its highest potential, right? Its highest dharma, which we talked about the word dharma yesterday. Doing what is right? Doing what is dharmic, following our spiritual path in the way that we were meant to follow it, and acting in alignment with our morals and values, right? We can get tripped up when we are influenced by the amygdala, right? When we are taken over by that instinct for survival, we might be tempted to do things that we wouldn't do otherwise, right? Because we're getting that signal that our life is in danger. And our mind and body respond in kind to that. So stepping back and letting go. This is the basis of spiritual practice. You will get all kinds of benefits to mind and body from it. And on top of that, the practices were developed to attain that highest spiritual goal, right? Which is union with God, which is having that that unitary experience where we are knowing that we are not separate from the divine. We are one with that. And even though the mind can't experience that, our consciousness can, because consciousness is one. The mind can't experience it, but it can be informed by the knowing that our expansive consciousness gives to it. So the mind and body become transformed as we have those encounters and go further and further on our spiritual journey. So now I'm going to turn to, I have a couple questions on the chat. And if you have any questions or observations, thoughts, or comments, you can feel free to throw them up there. First, I want to answer Kimberly's question about what is the app I'm using. So the app I'm using is called Paced Breathing. And I'll put that up. And unfortunately, it's only made for Android. So Apple does not currently have a version of that. And you'll know it, let's see, I'll try to show you the screen of my phone where it says, you see the little icon of the paced breathing right there. And that's what you'll see when you go to the App Store and look for it. It is free. And it's also good to talk about that because there are lots and lots of free apps for paced breathing and for meditation. For iPhone, I've used one called Breath Ball. I don't like it quite as much as the one that I was using with you. Oh, sorry, I'm putting this just to Kimberly and you guys aren't seeing it. Yeah, sorry, Maria. My setting was for to respond to Kimberly. As I was saying, it's not, I don't think it's as good as the breath ball isn't quite as good as the paced breathing for the Android, but I'm still reviewing them and looking at them. So what you want to do is when you get the app that you, oh, is it? Okay, so Kimberly is saying that the paced breathing is available in the App Store on your Mac. Good, so I'll take a look at that again. Maybe now it is showing up. There are also a lot of apps called paced breathing, which is why I showed you the little icon there, because just so you know exactly what it should look like, because I know I got confused when I looked up paced breathing in the App Store. I came up with a lot of choices. So it's the one with it's blue and black, and the little meditation guy is white and sitting in the middle. So what I was going to say was the paced breathing apps will usually allow you to set the inhalation and the exhalation. So actually the paced breathing app that I have here, I set that for an inhalation of 5 and an exhalation of 6 with a 0.5 second pause, both at the end of the in-breath and the end of the out-breath. So you want to set your paced breathing app to have a rhythm that's going to work for you. As I said before, I recommend at least a 10 count, meaning 5 in and 5 out. If you can do it, it can be helpful to add an extra count to the exhalation because you want to make sure that the air is completely out of the body before the inhalation. There's in paced breathing, there's an emphasis on the exhalation. So we want to be mindful of that, letting all the air come out. And it really starts to regulate the system. It changes heart rate variability, so it's really helpful. There's also a lot of meditation apps. So I don't know if anyone is interested in that, but it's actually Insight Timer is one that has ways to help you meditate. They have programs and different sounds if you're interested in that. There's also ones like Headspace that work well. And if you want additional information or have additional questions after this is over, let me just put up my email so you have it. The other question here was from Maria. Okay. So Maria asked, can we make up our own 6-syllable mantra or borrow from an inspirational prayer or literature? For example, Ave Maria, God is great, God is good, etc. So yes, absolutely. You can make up your own mantra. If you are connecting to something that's particularly inspirational to you or that resonates with you, I definitely encourage you to do that. If it aligns with a deep and full breath and if that is helping, then go for it, definitely. It can also be helpful to have different mantras for different situations. So for example, I use mantra a lot, but when I'm having a particularly difficult time with getting worked up, I'm having a hard time calming down because my amygdala is really worked up. I might do, with the in-breath, I'll do calm and confident, and with the out-breath, I'll do relaxed and at ease, right? So calm and confident, relaxed and at ease. And that's really helpful because it's helping me immerse the body in the message of where I want to be, right? The mental state I know is available and want to inhabit, and at the same time the breath is enforcing that by giving support with the calmness and the oxygen that's coming in, lowering the heart rate. So having different mantras, different techniques depending on what your particular circumstances is also helpful. So I hope that answers your question. I'll do a short reading to close us out. But before that, I just wanted to just say a little bit about encountering God and the wonderful reality that waits for us when we allow ourselves to be open. right? And I've said that a lot over the course of these 3 days, that these practices are all about letting go, right? Because the mind needs to let go of pretty much everything that it thinks it knows. So when we say the mantra or do the chanting or do the breathing or read these inspirational scriptures, texts, poetry, we offer all that we are, all that we do, all that the mind is to God, and allow God to do the transformation and the work that will refine the mind and the body to know that unitive state of consciousness that is always there, right? We know from the thousands of years of experience that saints and sages across all traditions have had, that the state is always there, right? It's always present, it's always with us. It's only the mind that is keeping us from knowing that fullness that we are a part of, that is so often foreign to our thinking that we can't even imagine it. And what awaits us in the encounter with God is completely beyond our imagination. It's joy, it's bliss beyond our wildest knowing. These are the tools we've been given to know that for ourselves. So I hope that these particular practices help you on your own journey, in your own challenges that you have as you work through whatever it is that you need to go through on your journey, to have this deeper, richer, more connected sense of who you are in relationship to God. So with that, I'm going to grab my finishing text here. And we've talked about a lot of different traditions. This particular text is a rendering of the Bhagavad Gita. And I love bringing different traditions into the conversation because it really helps people be exposed to different options and really see what they connect with, right? So being open to something else, even if it isn't specifically coming from your tradition, can really be key to grabbing hold of something that might need to be part of your journey. It also might not, but having the options really allows us to have the richest experience possible. So this is a rendering of the Bhagavad Gita. It's by a wonderful saint called Yaneshwar. It's called Yaneshwar's Gita. It's a very long rendering of the Gita. And at the end, he has a wonderful prayer. May the darkness of sin disappear. May the world see the rising of the sun of righteousness, and may the desires of all creatures be satisfied. May everyone keep the company of saints devoted to God, who will shower their blessings on them. Saints are walking gardens filled with wish-fulfilling trees, and they are living villages of wish-fulfilling gems. Their words are like oceans of nectar. They are moons without blemish and suns without heat. May these saints be the friends of all people. May all beings in all the worlds be filled with joy, and may they worship God forever. May everyone be blessed with success in this world and the next. So those saints he's talking about, those are saints from Christianity, from Judaism, from Hinduism, from Buddhism, from all walks of life, who have had that experience. So those are the ones we should allow to teach us of what that looks like, what it might feel like, and how we can get there. So I want to thank you all for coming and for giving your lovely attention to this topic. It's always, let's see. Oh no, so just to Maria. The recording is just going to be freely available. So these recordings will be posted on Holy Cross's website, and anyone can view them. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Thank you for coming, Maria, and everyone else who I always enjoy. It's wonderful. I talked yesterday a bit about keeping company. And it's wonderful for me to keep the company of other wonderful souls who are interested in what the Spirit has to offer and going on their journeys, and really looking for some ways to connect to other people and to God. So it's wonderful to do this, and my real pleasure and honor. So thank you very much. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Joanna, Roja, Maria, Tom, others who are here, and hope to catch you next time in person, wherever that may be. So everyone stay well, stay safe and healthy, and I will hopefully be with you in some form or other sooner rather than later. So take good care.